Hello everyone, hello everybody, hey love lovers. So this is a synastry analysis of Diddy and T.D. Jakes, the bishop, right? So Mr. Diddy and Bishop T.D. Jakes, right? And of course there has been a lot of stories being said about the two and about their relationship. And we do know that Diddy's attorneys have now presented the idea that Diddy is a swinger. So I'm leaving up the definition of a swinger on the screen so that you see the definition of a swinger. So there has been rumors pertaining to the relationship between Diddy and T.D. Jakes, the bishop. And of course, T.D. Jakes has also alluded to be against, domestic violence, which is forming part of, these cases against Diddy, right? So now, when it comes to their birthdays, Diddy was born in 1969, 4th November, right? And T.D. Jakes was born in 1957 in June on the 9th, right? So interestingly enough, when I looked at the numerology, I found quite a lot of interesting things, because when we look at numerology, it helps us, view people in a broader manner, right? Or in a deeper level, so to speak. This is one of the synastry analysis that I will introduce. I will make a live numerology synastry, right? And I'm going to use, I think, people that we normally do not have their birth times or their correct birth detail, or details that are not known, right? So that will come up. Stay tuned for that. But regarding this synastry, of course, it's interesting right now because Diddy is going through the trial, and of course you can see all the predictions that I've made regarding Diddy in different scenarios and different synastry cases, right? I will link that playlist down below, and you can view everything. So I'm not going to be looking at Diddy's predictions here in detail. I will touch upon them because I've already dealt with that, but I will be looking at Bishop T.D. Jakes' predictions in terms of what to expect, particularly within this 1 year period, going into when he turns 69. So I'm going to be doing a 2 year period. I'm going to look at everything, literally including the transits. But the transits, they really aren't as definitive as when you are looking at what will happen in 5 years time, 10 years time, and all of these things, right? Because transits, they come and they give you a period, an indication of what is going to happen in that period. And with fast moving planets such as Mercury, Venus, and all of these are like Mars, right, Moon, they move so fast. Sun is always moving, transiting from one sign into another sign. So then their transits, they're so rapid, and then for a long term you need to go even deeper than a transit, right? So anyway, let's start with the synastry and see why these men got along, or why they got together in the first place, right? And of course, everything is alleged, and from the get-go until the end of this video, And the relationship that I will be looking at in terms of this synastry is not a romantic relationship, because Bishop T.D. Jakes has not admitted to be in a romantic relationship with Diddy, and Diddy has not admitted into being in a romantic relationship with T.D. Jakes, even though now through his lawyers has admitted that he is indeed a swinger, right? So I have calculated, I have rectified, so to speak, Diddy's birth time, but then for the purpose of presenting here, I am going to place this chart that does not have a birth time. But for my own research, I am using an ascendant that I calculated, and which has for now been correct, because according to the predictions, it has shown to be the right rectification of his birth time. So, but then for the purposes of being a public space, and I am not a specialized person in time rectification in this field, I am specializing in synastry, right, and predictive astrology, of course. So what I see from the synastry is that there's a lot of information that Diddy told T.D. Jakes, and this information, it was also shared with an intent to use the profession of T.D. Jakes to cover up his secrets, to cover up things that he would be doing in private, to cover up his scandals, right? Because we are working with a Scorpio energy here. So what are we seeing here is that this would have been a matter of gaslighting. I do see a lot of gaslighting, because both of their Neptunes, they are indicating high gaslighting, whereby each person would have used the other person for achieving their own goals and their own selfish deeds, right? Now, when it comes to the information that was shared by Diddy, using or wanting to use the profession of T.D. Jakes, because T.D. Jakes was known as this Christian man who's a good preacher, who's all about God, right? But it must be noted that T.D. Jakes has a retrograde Saturn, so as Diddy. Now, as I have said before, when it comes to a retrograde Saturn, things change. People don't behave the same way they would have behaved with a normal Saturn. A retrograde Saturn breaks rules, all the rules. In fact, with a retrograde Saturn, there are no rules, there are no boundaries, there is no time. Everything is done now. Add on that T.D. Jakes Saturn is also in Scorpio. Is also in Scorpio, indicating a whole lot of secret things that he would have done, under the cover of his profession, or using his profession as, a cover up of, what he's achieved through his status of being the bishop, or his work and all of these things. Right now, what is also evident in their synastry is that the information that they would have talked about is about family, mostly family. There are things, as I said, of course, secrets and everything. He would have also discussed things about his kids, telling T.D. Jakes stuff like that, and about his romantic lives and all of these things. So T.D. Jakes would have had that knowledge. Now, what is evident here is that, as I said, there's a lot of gaslighting between the two guys. and one using the other like equally. And what I do see is that, you know, TD Jakes would have been given like a silver platter of this you know, new fame or new access, you know, to certain individuals, to the elites, to the higher upper class, the upper echelons of Hollywood, and he would have had access through Diddy. So Diddy would have opened doors for TD Jakes to meet, you know, the most influential people, and through this he would have felt, you know, seen, he would have felt appreciated, he would have felt bigger, you know, than the world itself. He would have felt like now he had connections to the right people to make money. I see money being the motive here. I see businesses being the motive here. I see like just he wanted security, you know. TD Jakes would have wanted security for his family, security for his lineage, security for having wealth, building wealth, and Diddy had the key, the doors to open that access, you know, to the right connections, to the right people, to the right ambiance, the right environment, you know, the right friends, the right authority figures. And so now TD Jakes now finds himself, you know, in this, you know, environment of, you know, the upper echelons of our society, the elites, you know, with the people above everybody else, the people who have access to places and things that other people don't have. And he's like, my goodness, I'm here now. I am here now. But by doing this and by accepting this, he is now making a transaction of his profession, you know, being covered by the manipulation and the gaslightings of Neptune over his Saturn, right? But as I said, because his Saturn is a retrograde, so for him this does not bother him, this does not hinder him, this does, you know, the shortcuts, the manipulation, all of this, it does not really bother him because his own Saturn is retrograde. So the shortest way to get things, the better, right? So now what I also do see is that through this platform of glamorous life, the new fame that he's getting through Diddy, right, I do see involvement of young people, or involving young people or children, not only like Diddy talking about his children, but I do see children of the community being involved here, or, you know, having to be attached somehow, you know, through this story, like younger people, I don't know how, but I do see that. And when I looked closer as well, I also do see that there are pleasurable things that he would have experienced through Diddy because of his Venus, which is in Gemini, by the way, conjunct with Mars. Now, that Venus and that Mars, they have an access to, you know, all to the pleasurable houses of Diddy, and I do see lots of secret endeavors that they would have indulged, you know, together in private. So it could have been things of unself-doing, it could have been you know, prayer as well. I do see that. It could have been you know, being around people who are fun, really, like people who are really fun, like fun, because this is a Gemini sign, very playful, very flirtatious, very charming. And these people would have been in the media as well, because Gemini is about media, the journalism, publicity, all of that, right? But then what I do see here is that there would be both men and female, and males, because there's Mars and there's the Venus all, together here, indicating that through these pleasurable moments, or through these spiritual getaways maybe, or through these playful games that they would have shared between them, there would have been different types of people. And because remember, Gemini is adapting, like Gemini is all about both things, both sides of everything, right? So I do see that. And now I also do see that he's got, Diddy Jakes has got his Rahu conjunct with the Diddy's Lilith. Now this is opposite Diddy's Moon, which is conjunct with his Ketu, also being joined by Diddy Jakes Jupiter and Pluto. Whoa. So now when we talk about Jupiter, particularly for Bishop Diddy Jakes, because he was seen as the man of God, the man who preaches the good word, the man who leads, multiples of people, like millions and millions and millions of people, right, feeding them the word of God, right? So now when it is with Pluto and expecting Lilith, we do see tainted things here. So we do see tainted image, we do see tainted motives, we do see a tainted aura, because Lilith is the tainted aspect when it comes to planets. It will give the tainted thing whereby there's a lot of controversy around what you do. And on top of that, it is with a Rahu. So meaning that within their community, they would have given the image together of, this tainted ideology, or, the wishes and goals of achieving, gains and profits, but through tainted ideologies, all right? And I do see that, yes, there is a comfort that Diddy got from Diddy Jakes through that Jupiter that he brings, okay? So there is some, some spiritual advice, spiritual counsel that he would have received to calm his mind, to calm his emotions, because when we talk about moon, we talk about mind, we talk about emotions as well, right? But at the same time, because there's Pluto, so it means that obviously they wouldn't have seen eye to eye all the time, and there would have been periods whereby there would be ego issues, because this is in Leo. Leo is all about independence, like me, right? Now what I do see also from the synastry, which is quite interesting, right, is that the work that they would have wanted to do together would have been overshadowed by manipulation, gaslighting, and lies, or the work itself was used as a cover-up of another motive, right? So this is what the Neptunes would also indicate. Now, when I look at their Mercuries, because I wanted to see how did they communicate, did they have a good communication, how was the communication in between them, they actually have it in conjunction of their Mercuries, which means that there was actually, not an agreeable flow of communication in between them, right? What I do see is that, one would be focusing on the social appearances, social life, how are we looking outside, and the other one is focusing on healing family or building wealth and all of these things, right? So there was that differences in terms of their thinking, in terms of their communication, and that aspect. Now, what also shows me that there was an objective or a bigger goal, or maybe this is how they started about healing. There was healing that was supposed to be involved here. It is not a tale. There was a moment whereby Diddy made a statement and he thanked Diddy Jakes, and said he helped him through tough times. And here you can see that because their chirons are facing each other, opposite each other, looking at each other. So there was a lot of healing that this man needed to do, or they wanted to do, right, due to the oppositions of their chirons. Now, what is evident here is that the work, because Diddy Jake's chiron is in Virgo, getting attached to Diddy's stellium, and because it's in Virgo, it was about work. It was really about work, healing people, saying things that are healing, doing work that is healing towards him. But because it is also meeting here Pluto and Uranus, meaning that Diddy would have erratically changed the plans or changed the routine, out of the blue. He changes the mission, or he changes the structure, or he changes the schedule, so. And the healing that was supposed to be done was always met with obstacles in between. However, at first it was a recipient. He was he was open to it. He was a recipient of this healing from Diddy Jakes. But due to the Pluto and the Uranus, that back and forth would have hindered this, particularly when Jupiter and Venus would have been going retrograde at certain transits. Then it's highly likely then Diddy would have changed the schedule, changed plans, not being available, all of these things, right? And at the same time, this healing idea for Diddy, it would have also been able to make him recover some money, or recover status or valuables, right? Because his fortune is also here. However, there is Venus here. So because there is Venus here, it means there were also affection involved that was being healed, or the healing was through affection, and obviously counsel, because there's Jupiter as well in this conjunction, right? Now, what is mostly evident here is that because Diddy's vertex is opposite Diddy Jakes, Mars, and Venus, this for Diddy would have made him feel like part of his life was changing around. So meeting Diddy Jakes is something that changed in Diddy's life, particularly his ways of viewing spirituality or religion itself, because this is happening in Sagittarius, right? But at the same time, due to that Gemini, Venus, Mars, a lot of influence that includes play and pleasures and all of these things would have been involved here. Now, what is evident when I look closer here is that around March next year in 2026, I do see a lot of information being revealed about them. A huge scandal. I mean, okay, there's already been the scandal, but I do see some shocking information coming out around March, I would say, and around March 2026. So this would, come up, and I do see that, it would also include information that is regarding secrets, okay, but then it would also involve other people. So it wouldn't just be them, but it would involve also other people at this time. All right, so this would be around March, and it could happen 3 months before or 3 months after, something like that, but around March 2026, information about them, which will include other people, and which would be quite shocking as well. Right, so that is coming up. Now let's look at their predictions in terms of transits and long term as well, right? So what's evident right now is in this year, right? I do see obviously what's been happening regarding Diddy. I've already spoken about that, and I do see also that I would say towards the end of the year, like around October or December, around so, right, there would also be information that is going to come out regarding one or two of Diddy's kids, right? So his kids are old men now, and so we can talk. They are, like, I think in their 30s now, but there's an information that is going to come out right around December or so, and at the same time it's going to be spoken. It's something that is going to be spoken, so it could be maybe something that is like a voicemail or a voice note or something, or someone comes out and says something, maybe on the social media, but they're gonna say it. So it's not gonna be like something written. Like if it's a video, there's gonna be like a voice whereby people can hear what's being said, right? So that is coming out around December this year, right? Regarding this part, I do see when it comes to TD Jakes around the age of 68. Now he's 67 years old and 10 months, yeah. So he's soon to be 68. So around this age of 68, I do see some sort of bad name, regarding his marriage, or he maybe how he treats his spouse, or something relating to his spouse and his marriage, like some sort of tainted image coming out, something like that, right? That will taint his marriage, like something that will just give that bad vibe around his union. And I do see that. I also do see that his beliefs, like when it comes to Diddy Jakes, Bishop Diddy Jakes, there's something that made him desperate. Like something happened and made him to be extremely desperate, to keep his image, to keep his status, or maybe to even keep his church, his job, and so his beliefs were then compromised. I do see this, and I do see it starting at around 60 years old. So since 60 years old, this is when his Jupiter was received an opposition from his progressing Jupiter. So this is belief against belief system. So this time at 60 years old is when his belief system was challenged and got compromised. something desperate, like he was desperate for something. He was desperate. There's something that happened that made him to be utterly desperate, and to keep maybe his religion, or relating to his religion, his church, to keep his church, to keep the people believing him, and then because of this desperation, this is how he would then found himself in such secular places, or in this area, or in this situation, so to speak, because I also do see that his Jupiter, as I said, is conjunct with Diddy's Ketu, and Ketu is a separator, right? Even though it is about spirituality, but it will still separate you from what you believe in. And having TD Jake's beliefs, core beliefs, being attached to the Ketu, and of course, transformation through his own Pluto, his belief systems were transformed and compromised at around 60 years old. So this thing in the background has been happening from his side, according to his chart, since 60 years old, right? So, but of course, we're just learning about these things just recently, as in like last year. I do see that now, when it comes to, I would say, like around 2026, like around 2026, like next year, or as soon as it turns 2068, or around the 68-year mark, I do see that because of his progressing Mars, which is conjunct Ketu right now, he would feel a lot of stress. There would be stressful something around his life, because it's going to be opposite his moon, and the moon is about mind, moon is about emotions, our mindset. So having that, with also the impact from Rahu, Neptune, I do see a lot of stress for him. I do see physical fatigue as well. I also do see constant headaches, like literal headaches, coming through, like something that he would maybe talk about, like, oh my gosh, I have a headache, or something, I don't feel good, or something like that, right? I do see that. Now, when it comes to the current transits, which we're going to see now, from May, because we're going to have Saturn getting into Pisces, Jupiter into Gemini, and the nodes, of course, Leo and Aquarius. So what is expected? So let me start with continue with TD Jakes. I do see from his side, that he could lose. Okay, he's already like announced that he's leaving his church. And it is obviously the pre-shadow of Ketu, because the transit of Ketu is with his Jupiter, which is all about his belief systems and what he believes in and what he fights for, right? And therefore he's experiencing this transformation because of the Ketu, and so he's going to continue to lose things relating to his belief systems and his beliefs. So this, him resigning now was part of those things that he's going to continue to lose, and he's going to find transformation as well through this process at this time. Now, to remember what I talked about and how these transits will be, affecting different individuals when it comes to Leo and Virgo, I have that video below. You can also listen to for yourself, if you are interested. So what I do see for him, particularly looking at his degrees, is that wait, before I say that, I must remind people that due to his degrees, like I explained in the last video, whereby I individualized the predictions, due to his degrees of Jupiter, it means, that, he's got this elegant speech, which he does. I mean, he's known for that, to be a good speaker. He's, known to be to have diplomacy. I mean, due to his being a bishop and all of this, public speaking is his forte. Like I explained yesterday, these are the things that these people with these degrees are known for, right? And this is another example. And he's using his Jupiter, to make transformation, which is also Pluto, to give these things, for people to experience, right? But now, remember I said when it comes to Ketu, there will be confusion regarding love, regarding relationship. And again, it talks about, or it aligns with what I just said, the prediction that I just made, that there would be something that will be revealed regarding his unionship or partner, and there would be, inappropriate things that are revealed, which expose instability in his social attachments, or how he attaches himself socially to people and other things. We are expecting lots of misjudgment, regarding the people that he's been with, the alliances that he's been with. There will be misjudgment, but also there will be loss of those connections that he made under being misguided, right? I do see that. And when it comes, that was the tropical part, and when it comes to the Vedic part of looking at his degrees, I do see that he also gives, this eccentric vibe, like I explained yesterday, because in the Vedic, his Jupiter goes into 29 degrees, whereas in our tropical, his Jupiter is in 22 degrees of Virgo. So for Vedic, it's in Leo, 29 degrees, which makes him eccentric, independent, very unique, like I explained yesterday, like non-conforming, just doing his own thing. And because of the Ketu, there will be sudden reversal of fortune, which is already happening, because it's already given his resignation, I think last week or something like that. And these things will keep continuing. He's going to lose lots of things, lots of fortune, lots of valuable things, and there would be instability as well, which is led by, his eccentricity, being eccentric and all of these things. So now he could try to rebel, but I mean, when it comes to Ketu, instead of rebelling, you should just let things be. Like, don't fight it, just follow the intuition. And this is the high time, or the best time, for him to really use his intuition right now, to really use his spirituality right now, to stop or to minimize the sudden reversal of fortune that would be presented. And he could be, saved in that instance, but of course he would have to rebel with a cause this time, because if he keeps doing things without a cause, without a purpose, a bigger purpose to really serve people in the most honest way, then these things would obviously happen, right? So again, this is another example of how predictions can be individualized based on not just your ascendant, but literally just looking at the finer, minor details, right? So let's continue and move on to P. Diddy, right? And again, of course, he had to leave his job for now, like his profession. He had to resign because the Saturn in Pisces is now opposite the Chiron, hurting, wounding, right? And that is his natal Chiron, which is retrograde, by the way. And meaning that even the healing that he would have to give, or he's been giving, is with ulterior motives. It's not straightforward healing like everybody else. There's motives because it's a retrograde. So with Saturn here, you can see that he had to feel some wounding or some hurt through his work, Virgo, right? And both transits and progressions, they just telling the same story. Now when it comes to Diddy, as I said, I've already made a lot of predictions to him regarding him, but what I do see here regarding the transit, and adding on to whatever else I've said before, is that Saturn is being conjunct with Chiron, and of course wounding regarding his job, the law, finalizing things in the legal manner. And of course it is opposite his cluster with his Pluto, Uranus, Fortune, Jupiter, Venus, and all of these things are being scrutinized under the legal arm, which is justice, Saturn, right? Saturn itself. And of course regarding Ketu, I've already dealt with that, regarding family and all of that. But because I showed you guys how to individualize the predictions, I just want to show you another example using our Diddy, because he's got Ketu and Moon in Leo, meaning that at this time he's Ketu, the transiting Ketu is going to be conjunct Ketu in Leo and Moon in Vedic. And then we're going to also do it from the Virgo perspective, and you can see how you can individualize the predictions, not by really knowing the whole chart, but just knowing a few planetary placements. So because his Ketu and Moon are within the like 20 degree to 25 degree section, I do see, as I said yesterday, these people are confident, these people are brave, they not scared of anything, they can take a lion down, they are the lion, right? And of course for him is the mind, is the moons, is the mindset. It's also, it means that his own mother is like this, is very confident, is very brave, very assertive, like will just take it on, bring it on, which is also how he approaches life, because this is his mindset, this is his emotions, expressions of feelings, like he would just express with that bravery, right? And also because the Ketu is also here, meaning that whatever he would search for, he would search with the same bravery, the same eagerness, the same confidence, but now, and a lot of aggression as well. And but because now Ketu is coming here, and for him there's always been Ketu, meaning that lots of his efforts would be misdirected, the courage would be misdirected towards reckless things or recklessness, right? And of course, like I said yesterday, with Ketu coming in here, there will be a heightened state of recklessness, whereby decisions are taken in a reckless manner without thinking about the consequences, right? Whereby the courage is misdirected, towards, goals that are not going to give you a winning end, right? So, and then when it comes to the Vedic, to the tropical, because that was the Vedic, the tropical, let's do that. So I do have his Virgo Pluto in 26 degrees, which makes him, a person who is clever, analytical, very strategic, somebody who likes debates, somebody who likes to win debates, a genius in what he does, very precise as well, very intelligent, see that. And somebody who likes to think in a critical manner, plan very well. And with Ketu coming here, attaching to that Pluto, oh my gosh, and with his moon at 14 degrees Virgo tropical, which makes him, have this fine detail, like analyzing things and all of these things, right? So there would be difficulties as well, with what he wants to choose at this time, and just taking advices even if they don't suit him well, which which agrees exactly with the Vedic part, whereby he would be putting courage towards things that are not giving a good profit, and whereby his arguments, or he's just arguing with arrogance and provoking arguments, or arguments being provoked against him, leading to nowhere, or for no particular reason at all, right? So that is coming up with his transit, and gosh, we could continue to go on and on and on, but for now I must say thank you. I'll chat to you very soon. A bientôt. Ciao.